You know, the greatest challenge that we face is bringing our own people with us, making peace with your friends.
Any man who is not with us is against us. When is a unionist not a unionist? When he creates disunion.
Well, in the end, customs checks doesn't mean that you change the constitutional status of a part of the United States.
Election that we have ever had to face. We must elect those who would fight for the union, not those who would oppose it.
Already we're seeing the political parties and business leaders coming together to see how we actually exploit the opportunities that may arise from this situation.
Any man who is not with us is against us.
And when it comes to peace building, sometimes leaders have to push the boundaries to see how we actually exploit the opportunities that may arise from this situation.
Any man who is not with us is against us.
The Northern Ireland Assembly is the place where every element of our society is represented. Such partnership is how we must move forward.
And when it comes to peace building, sometimes leaders have to push the boundaries.
When is a unionist not a unionist? When he creates disunion.
The sheet of paper you were given didn't show you all these different regulations on them, so it didn't even mention how many regulations there were. And when I queried that, I asked one of the DUP spads because I knew it had something to do with it, and I was given this assurance that it was keeping us in line with the rest of the United Kingdom, and there was absolutely nothing to worry about.
And when it comes to peace building, sometimes leaders have to push the boundaries.
I trusted what I was told, and I made a mistake, and that's how it was sold to me, and I can only apologise.
The Northern Ireland Assembly is the place where every element of our society is represented.
And when it comes to peace building, sometimes leaders have to push the boundaries.
In August 2016, within weeks of the EU referendum, my party leader, Arlene Foster, penned a letter jointly with the then Deputy First Minister, Martin McGuinness. That letter was written to the UK Prime Minister, Theresa May. And it's worth quoting, I think, from this letter. This region is unique in that it is the only part of the UK which has a land border with an EU member state. There have been difficult issues relating to the border throughout our history and the peace process. We therefore appreciate your stated determination that the border will not become an impediment to the movement of people, goods and services.
Any man who is not with us is against us.
It was pragmatic and constructive. As then First Minister and Deputy First Minister, these two leaders were writing in the same spirit of mutual respect and common sense, which enabled my party and Sinn Féin to reach agreement at St Andrews and subsequently to establish a power-sharing government.
We must elect those who will fight for the union, not those who would oppose it.
And therefore, making peace with your enemies is important, but it can only be successful if you make peace with your friends. Thank you.
So welcome to a Thursday morning here at Restore UK. And, you know, I didn't think that I would be back here as quickly as from last evening. I had said that, I have no doubt that I will be back before the end of the week. And that was before that we see what we see unfolding before our very eyes. Now, excuse me, if you have been watching and listening to the media, last night, the televised Nolan show, if you'd been watching the Nolan show, what you would have seen is that you would have seen Edwin Poots propose something straight out of the mouth of the Irish government, let me say, and I'll explain as I go on. You heard Edwin Poots when he would have said that what we will do is that the DUP are prepared to keep the border in Belfast, and what we are prepared to do is that we're prepared to, examine goods that are destined for the EU market. Now, let's just break this down and let's just understand, firstly, what it is that Edwin Poots is proposing. Edwin Poots is proposing something that Edwin Poots has been proposing ever since the EU constitutional changing protocol came into place. And Edwin Poots is talking consistent with that, which the DUP have been uttering ever since that there was talk of an EU constitutional changing protocol, whenever Jeffrey Donaldson said that we would have to exploit the benefits that would lay within the protocol. Now, I'm going to ask one question before I go on here. Ask yourself the question, who has put wind in the DUP sails? Now, let me go on. Let me explain something. You see, the United Kingdom, if we look at the United Kingdom and if we try to draw the outline of the United Kingdom, where does that outline go? That outline would go from, say, Dover up around the east coast of England to, say, Newcastle upon Tyne, on up, way on up into sort of the Edinburgh area, the Seton Sands area, just outside Edinburgh, way up round the top of Scotland, back down again. And then what it would do is it would cross over to the top of North Antrim there, along the sort of Portrush coast, and it would travel back down around the outline of the border that exists between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Yes, contrary to the myths that exist in the media, there actually is a border. This is Northern Ireland. This is part of the United Kingdom, and that border would travel right around the border area, through South Armagh and into Newry, and back out again and across over into England, crossing into Wales and back round to where it joins Dover yet again. You see, that is the outline of the United Kingdom. Now, ask yourself a question. If you had been listening to Edwin Poots last evening, what he is suggesting is that we keep the border in the North Channel, in the Irish Sea, and we keep it there to examine goods that is destined to the EU market. Now, again, asked another question. What does that mean? What does that mean in practice? Does that mean that we have EU border guards? Does that mean that we have officials of the EU there checking them goods in the middle of our country? What unionists would propose such a situation? Ask yourself that question. What type of unionist would propose such a situation? Now, what Edwin Poots was miraculously, the formation of the words that he came up with last night, it's now being touted across the media land as a good compromise. And already, although the Irish government haven't quite accepted it, they're welcoming those words. And let me just draw back for a few days. And I can draw back even before then. You see, unlike most people, what we do here at Restore is that we listen to words. And we listen to words from particular sources. And on Monday, didn't I hear Micheál Martin say, and I've heard him say it before, but didn't I hear Micheál Martin say that the landing zone was we need to get to the position where there's no checks on goods coming to Northern Ireland, which means to say that there's still a protocol, which means to say that Northern Ireland still has a border in the middle of the United Kingdom, which means to say that we are set apart from the rest of the United Kingdom. And yet this is what the DUP are proposing. Now, where else did we hear those words that are derived in lockstep? And I'll quote that again. Where else have we heard those words, landing zone? That formation of words in lockstep. Well, didn't we hear Mug Beatty on Monday using those exact same words? Haven't we heard those words before? Now, this is what happens, people. What you are seeing before your very eyes is you are seeing a pantomime being played out. And what is it that this pantomime is proposing? Well, in good pantomime fashion, whenever the punchline in a pantomime would be, look out, it's behind you. Well, what is behind you is the devil in the detail. And the devil in the detail is that nothing really changes. Nothing ever happens. Nothing happens at all. The needle returns to the start of the song and we all sing along like before. So what we really need to do is we need to watch with a hawk like eye. I have to say that I personally, and I've talked to others about this, but we're not for having a border slap bang in the middle of the United Kingdom because the EU want a border slap bang in the middle of the United Kingdom. And whenever you look at these politicians are privy to information that you and I and everyone else don't have. I mean, Mug Beatty and Micheál Martin on Monday on the media, they say the landing zone is no goods, no checks on goods, no checks and goods coming from the United Kingdom to Northern Ireland. That's the landing zone, is what Micheál Martin said first. Then Mug Beatty said second. And now we have this proposal from the DUP, which is exactly the same as that which the Irish government were proposing on Monday, which is exactly the same as that which Mug Beatty of the UUP was proposing on Monday. Are the DUP coming late to the game? Well, obviously the DUP are not telling you, not telling I, what it is that they are agreeing behind closed doors. Now, there's a claim, and if anyone wants to challenge me in that claim, well, they can come along and we can lay out barely the origins of those words and where those words come from. Those words are derived from words from the European Union, from the Irish government. Didn't we hear Michelle O'Neill say yesterday that the protocol is going nowhere? Well, I have to say that I now agree with Michelle O'Neill that the constitutional changing protocol is going nowhere. Yes, there might be some tinkering with the protocol. Who remembers that term? No tinkering with the protocol. The protocol has to be gone in all its forms. And here we have goods being checked in the middle of the United Kingdom, which is totally unacceptable, should be unacceptable to anyone who calls themselves a unionist here in Northern Ireland. Now, let's just remind ourselves, and I'm not staying for long, I just come on purely to document what it is that I see playing out before my very eyes, and I'm encouraging each and every one to watch what is said in the media, compare them with the words that I'm actually telling you right now, and then understand that what is being played before your very eyes is the spin, the swindle and fudge, yet again, of British unionism here in Northern Ireland, and it is being pushed, excuse me, by the DUP. Who remembers 2019? Who remembers the run-up to the new decade, New Deal approach, and where the DUP said there wouldn't be an Irish language, that the DUP were standing strong. In fact, we have videos of people standing around Arlene Foster saying that there wouldn't be an Irish language. Well, there is an Irish language, which is coming down our line right now. And the DUP, what they did was they capitulated to an Irish language commissioner in the new decade, New Deal, even though that they knew the dangers of that. And here we see the DUP doing exactly the same. They get elected, they ask for your vote, they lie to your face, and then they do the complete opposite of that which they claimed that they would do to represent you. Now, what looks fine in the media right now will actually turn out to be to your detriment, and that you could be absolutely assured of. The DUP are now proposing that posts stays in Belfast, that there is a border in the North Channel, that there is a border in the Irish Sea, and what it's there for is to check goods coming from England and going into the EU. Let me just dispel this myth about why Belfast? Why does there have to be a border in Larne? Why does there have to be a border in Belfast? Why can't it be in Dundalk, the other side of the border? Why can't it be there? Why can't it be in the factories in England? Why can't we just completely erase that border, bin that protocol, and finish and kill that protocol forever? Why can't we be returned to fully fledged members of the United Kingdom? What the DUP are doing is they are overstepping the mark. They are going beyond their remit. They are promising things for and on behalf of the Unionist electorate here in Northern Ireland that they do not have the authority to promise. They may have the authority of people that they get funding for. Now, they may have their authority. Some people may have put wind in the DUP sails, but the ordinary people are not going to be bluffed by that. The ordinary people are not going to accept that. In fact, what this will turn out to be is the DUP being election agents for the TUV, and we at Restore will actually ensure that that is the case. So it's a big no from the people at Restore that there should be no border in Belfast. Poots Posts has to go, and Poots last night on Nolan was recommending that the DUP are happy to check goods in the middle of the United Kingdom for and on behalf of the EU. Why do we even have to check the EU's goods? Why can't they check them themselves? Why can't they check them on the other side of the Killeen border in Dundalk, let's just say? If there's any checks to be taking place, that's where it needs to be. And, you know, in the words of Martina Anderson, they can stick their border checks where the sun doesn't shine. The DUP can stick what it is that they're proposing as border checks where the sun doesn't shine. And if you're a unionist, if you voted for that DUP, you need to take a good hard look at yourself, and you need to understand that the ink isn't even dry, or the pencil mark isn't even dry on your ballot paper, and already the DUP are rolling over and shafting the people of Northern Ireland. Now, let's just see how this plays out. I am very confident that the DUP right now are moving to shaft you in a way that is in lockstep with the Irish government, with the EU, with Mug Beatty of this world, who is privy to the detail because he came out with those words: landing zone, Micheál Martin landing zone, Nolan landing zone, the Irish government this morning landing zone, the EU landing zone. You know, this is how this happens. They are all using exactly the same words. So people, you be assured that the landing zone is, nothing has changed, a border in Belfast, a border in Larne, and another border in Warren Point. That's not acceptable to British unionism. And I could be absolutely, I can stand confident that some people, some misguided people from within our community may think that that's okay. The funding that they get may be clouding their judgments. But that's all that's happening. British unionism in Northern Ireland means a lot more than turning a blind eye because of pleasantries that you're getting. We've got a whole lot of history here in Northern Ireland, 1921 going forward, and we're not going to give up Northern Ireland as easy as the DUP would want us to. That's not going to happen. Let's remind ourselves about Edwin Poots, the man who said that the DUP will be happy to continue to have a border in Belfast, a border in Larne, and a border in Warren Point. He says this last night on the Nolan show. Okay, he didn't mention Larne, Belfast, or Warren Point, but that's what he means. That's exactly what he means. Let's remember, this is what Edwin Poots had said going back when the protocol came into being. And there is no difference in Edwin Poots's thought processes. And I'm going to prove this to you. And we're also going to show you Jeffrey Donaldson when he said that we need to exploit the benefits of the protocol. Well, by what Edwin Poots was suggesting last night, what has changed from Jeffrey Donaldson? Either that he is seeking to exploit the benefits of the protocol. Let's remember what Edwin Poots says. We'll go to Jeffrey Donaldson and we'll be closing. We'll be playing this out, and I'm going to ask each and every person to tag people into this live chat, to share this far and wide, to let as many people know and understand that in lockstep, this landing zone, which came from the European Union, which came from the Irish government, which was uttered by Doug Beatty, is now being uttered by the media, by the Dublin government, by people that are associated with the European Union from within the Dublin government. And right now, you are in the middle of a pantomime and you are being played like well-tuned fiddles, if you believe what you see rolling out in the media right now. Let's remember what Edwin Poots had to say.
Ireland Protocol means that Northern Ireland is still operating under EU rules, with the EU treating Britain as a third country. And Edwin Poots says that that means that there's an opportunity for Northern Irish businesses to branch out.
An awful lot of material that is sold in the Great Britain market is imported from the European Union. We can obviously sell to the Great Britain market without the restrictions that would be for European Union countries. And our climate is actually excellent for plants, for cut flowers, etc. So, you know, we're very easy access to markets, for example, the Greater Manchester market, which is a huge population. And if we have the skills, the soil types, and all of that there put together, there is great business opportunities to export plants, to export cut flowers, and other items to the Great Britain market.
So there's a great opportunity to export to the Great Britain market. What's in this man's head? Is he a unionist? He wants to export things from Northern Ireland to the Great Britain market. In his head, in the exact words, his formation of words, when the protocol came into being last year, he had a brainwave. He had a great plan to export from Northern Ireland to the rest of the United Kingdom, when he should have been fighting for the removal of that border in the North Channel, in the Irish Sea. But instead, he erected Poots posts. And he doesn't want to remove those Poots posts by what he had said last night, that the DUP are happy to check goods going to the European Union in Belfast. And by extension, he meant Larne, and he also meant Warren Point. So let's now remove that. We're not staying for long. We're just here to press a point. We're here to pre-warn people for what to watch out for when we hear these words being mentioned in lockstep. So once again, we're going to now look for another little video, and we're going to play something by Jeffrey Donaldson. Just remember, by what Edwin Poots had said last evening, there is no change, and what it is that this DUP want to take unionism, Northern Ireland unionism, into.
Well, in the end, customs checks doesn't mean that you change the constitutional status of a part of the United Kingdom. That's not going to happen. Already we're seeing the political parties and business leaders coming together to see how we actually exploit the opportunities that may arise from this situation, not only to ensure we have full access to the UK market, but we've also got access to the EU market.
So customs checks doesn't mean, like the customs checks that Poots was proposing on the Nolan Show last night, that is being talked about in the Nolan Show this morning on the radio, that will be talked about in the Crawley Show between 12 and 1:30. Custom checks doesn't mean that there's constitutional change, said Jeffrey Donaldson. Any unionist that lands on the thought processes and works with and pushes forward touting this as a good deal, respectfully I say, you either are compromised or you have something, well, you're not thinking straight, let's just say. I could use even more harsh words than that, but I won't. Northern Ireland means a lot more than giving it away to people who want to destroy this place. Northern Ireland means more than listening to Michelle O'Neill yesterday when she was saying that the protocol is going nowhere. Effectively, under what it is that Poots was proposing last night, the protocol is going nowhere. That is the protocol repackaged, dressed up. It may get a different name, but it means exactly the same things. A border in the North Channel. Okay, they may dress up in a way that they remove the EU courts largely, but we would need to drill into the detail of what it is that is proposed, which probably won't come until years down the line, whenever this is too late. So there we go. So the DUP, in my considered opinion, has rolled over, is seeking to move unionism into a place in where that would be absolutely detrimental to the long-term existence of Northern Ireland. And that's a fact. And that is an absolute sad fact. So there you go, people. That's what I wanted to talk about. That's what I wanted to impress. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now play us out with something that we made for Jeffrey Donaldson whenever, just before that they started electioneering on these protocol rally stages. I watched Jeffrey Donaldson. This was a video that we found from 2014, 2015, in where that Jeffrey Donaldson suggests, and where that he intimates that when you're making peace with your enemies, and he does this, when you're making peace with your enemies, he goes, sometimes you have to push the boundaries. Well, right now, I am claiming that the DUP are pushing the boundaries of the United Kingdom. They're pushing those boundaries back from the Newry and the Armagh border, and they're putting them in Larne, in Belfast, and in Warrenpoint, where we, as part of the United Kingdom, are meant to have a border slap bang in the middle of our country to facilitate the whims or the needs, the desires, the unwarranted desires of the EU, the Irish government, Sinn Féin, and anyone else who's a Europhile, who are still fighting a Brexit referendum to which they absolutely lost. Let's remember what Jeffrey Donaldson had to say. And, well, no doubt, people, I could be back here again this evening. We may be back here again tomorrow as this story unfolds, as this pantomime plays out before our very eyes. Now let's just hear what others say from within our community. Already I hear people saying, oh, this is good. This is the same as what you've got now. You make no mistake about it. It may be repackaged, it may be dressed up, but Pooch posts will still be in the North Channel, in the Irish Sea, and we will still have a border. Who's going to be manning that border? Who's going to be checking those goods? This we will ultimately find out, but don't make the mistake of trusting the DUP. We have seen this before. From the DUP, the pencil marks are not even dry on that ballot paper, and already they're moving to roll over in true capo-like fashion. The wine that I produced and showed on Saturday, capo wine. It's here. It's going to be drunk not in celebration, but in recognition that the DUP have shafted us. I talked about this on Saturday, and here we are on Wednesday evening, last evening, hearing that the DUP are happy to keep the Pooch posts and to do border checks in Belfast, in Larne, and in Warrenpoint. How long before that wine is drunk? Will I have a glass with me this evening? Maybe tomorrow evening? Boys, okay. It's onwards and upwards for the TUV. The DUP are trying to move you and they're trying to shaft you. Let's just play us out with Jeffrey Donaldson. Let's move on. And no doubt I will see you all later.
You know, the greatest challenge that we face is bringing our own people with us, making peace with your friends.
Any man who is not with us is against us. When is a unionist not a unionist? When he creates disunion.
Well, in the end, customs checks doesn't mean that you change the constitutional status of a part of the United Kingdom.
This is the most momentous election that we have ever had to face. We must elect those who will fight for the Union, not those who would oppose it.
Already we're seeing the political parties and business leaders coming together to see how we actually exploit the opportunities that may arise from this situation.
Any man who is not with us is against us.
And when it comes to peace building, sometimes leaders have to push the boundaries to see how we actually exploit the opportunities that may arise from this situation.
Any man who is not with us is against us.
The Northern Ireland Assembly is the place where every element of our society is represented. Such partnership is how we must move forward.
And when it comes to peace building, sometimes leaders have to push the boundaries.
When is a unionist not a unionist? When he creates disunion.
The sheet of paper you were given didn't show you all these different regulations on them, so it didn't even mention how many regulations there were. And when I queried that, I asked one of the DUP SPADs because I knew it had something to do with it, and I was given this assurance that it was keeping us in line with the rest of the United Kingdom. And there was absolutely nothing to worry about.
And when it comes to peace building, sometimes leaders have to push the boundaries.
I trusted what I was told, and I made a mistake. And that's how it was sold to me, and I can only apologise.
The Northern Ireland Assembly is the place where every element of our society is represented.
And when it comes to peace building, sometimes leaders have to push the boundaries.
In August 2016, within weeks of the EU referendum, my party leader, Arnie Foster, penned a letter jointly with the then Deputy First Minister, Martin McGuinness. That letter was written to the UK Prime Minister, Theresa May. And it's worth quoting, I think, from this letter. This region is unique in that it is the only part of the UK which has a land border with an EU member state. There have been difficult issues relating to the border throughout our history and the peace process. We therefore appreciate your stated determination that the border will not become an impediment to the movement of people, goods and services.
Any man who is not with us is against us.
It was pragmatic and constructive. As then First Minister and Deputy First Minister, these two leaders were writing in the same spirit of mutual respect and common sense which enabled my party and Sinn Féin to reach agreement at St Andrews and subsequently to establish a power-sharing government.
We must elect those who will fight for the Union, not those who would oppose it.
And therefore, making peace with your enemies is important, but it can only be successful if you make peace with your friends. Thank you.
We didn't join Europe to be swallowed up in some bureaucratic conglomerate where it's Euro this and Euro that and forget about being British. We're British and we're proud of it. Proud of our traditions, proud of our national character.